So my policy of choice is not really a policy so much as I guess, not really, not legislative policy as such, but something that came out of the budget cuts. And that was the budget cuts that came to KiwiSaver and the first home grant. Not so great stuff that happened. So this was May 2024 that they cut the first home grant, and then this year, the last I don't even know when that was. That wasn't that long ago, was it? When did they announce that? Oh, July. That they were cutting the government contributions to KiwiSaver. So some pretty shitty stuff. But the reason that this is top of my spooky list is because of the damage it will do over time. Obviously, everyone top of their spooky list is the RSB and the Treaty Principles Bill and children's food and God knows what else, just about everything. But this for me was the one that stuck out, that I kept coming back to, of like, this one affects me. And that's the really annoying thing. And I know people this is affected because they slashed it so suddenly. And I think that's the thing that's so devastating. So the first home grant was it's been around since 2010, which I'm pretty sure is Key's government. So national, what the fuck? Since 2010, they've had this grant where a single person could get $5,000 from the government, and for an existing home, $10,000 if they were buying a brand new build. If they were a couple, that would be $10,000 and $20,000 respectively. So it was a fantastic system. Everyone I knew that bought a house pretty much used it, that were within the price bracket range. It was fantastic. One of the things about this was that it was like an overnight change. So they brought it in on the 22nd of May. They said, we're scrapping it effective immediately. You've got till midnight, I think it was, or even like at the time, they just said, we're scrapping it. So people that had applications that were approved, I believe, could still get, there you go. Bishop announced the grants would be stopped on Wednesday, so that was the day of. Applications for grants immediately stopped. And it was only those people that had the pre-approval, or they were kind of already going through they had an offer and things like that. And they had 3 months to basically use it, and then it was gone. So it was kind of spooky because it came out of nowhere. They didn't have a mandate to do it. There was no reason other than money to do it. Their justification was it would save $245 million over 4 years, which is not a crazy big amount when we consider all of the other things that we kind of look at, like education budget and a tax break for landlords, the $600 million ferries that just disappeared, money that went into the ether. And that was half of that, so not even like the full amount. 140 million of that was going to fund 1,500 new social housing places. So it's kind of like, well, we could get more people into their family home, or we could build new state houses. But as I'll explain soon, and most of us know this, they haven't really funded a whole lot of social housing. So great use of money? Don't know. So last year alone, that was 23 to 24 period. What's that? May 22, 2024 to 25, sorry. 12,000 people were approved. Since June 2017, HUD reported that 87,000 grants had been paid. This is a really funny piece because good old Infometrics Brad Olson, our favorite economist,
hell yeah,
has really conflicted view on this, where he goes, the policy is not great economically, but at the same time, I know people that you using this. So, as Craig was saying earlier in the week, like, economics is not just the numbers thing. It's also in the context and the social side of things. Like, you can't just be like, numbers, economically this doesn't work. It's like, yeah, but economically, it doesn't make sense to pay for education. Economically, it doesn't really make sense to have free healthcare. Economically, it doesn't really make sense to have any public services, basically, because they all just cost money and they don't have any return. So economics is a balance of making money and spending money and taxing revenue, like all of these things. So like it might not be a good economic policy, but it did a social good. So, Brad,
Well, yeah.
I think you might have a bit of a conflict.
I feel
there.
like you could argue that, like, if you've got a home, right, you're less likely to be paying rent, which means you're probably going to have more disposable income. And we know from Craig Rennie, people who have that disposable income and spend it stimulate the economy. Crazy.
Yeah,
Something else that
these grants.
go.
One of those numbers. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I bought a house at 23 with my partner, and we just looked at our Kiwis. We were flatting in Cuba Street in the center of Wellington. Yeah, and it was not great. Our homeless numbers were increasing. It's quite a lot of drunk people on the weekends. I was not enjoying living there, and we decided we'd look at our KiwiSavers, and we were like, oh, these aren't that bad, because we had quite good jobs at the time. So we were contributing 10% since we were started dating, which was when I was 19. And then we moved home with my mum for like a year and a half and just saved everything. She was very generous and let us live there rent free. And then we got these grants, and we just happened to buy at Christmas time, which no one's looking around then. And if they had it, when this was removed, I was gutted, because if I hadn't had this, I would have had to live with my mum for another few years while I saved enough of a deposit. And for a lot of people, they can afford the payments, they just can't afford the deposit. So this was helping us get onto the market, and I'm just gutted that some of my friends are still, just having to scrape by. And some people don't have family they can live with.
Oh, absolutely. I think Pat was saying the other day about how, he has a very, the circumstances that he did not have any control over is what helped him get on property ladder, And that's the thing. So sometimes it is just about a bit of luck, timing, who you know, and what family you have.
Yeah, I'm gutted for this. And I'm gutted for the KiwiSaver getting slashed in half, the contribution as well, because that's what a lot of people use for their first home. So that sucks.
Very, very much. I'm gonna do some back of the notepad type numbering mathematics for you guys. So something that irked me was something that Brad had said a year ago. Evidence shows that the grant brings forward the purchase of a first home, but in most cases it does not make a difference to whether someone can buy a home or not. Olsen and Bishop as well estimated it would delay first home buyers by about a year if they were looking to buy in the short term. And that irked me, because I know those numbers because I've been looking at them recently. It's not a year, because the prices, not even the last 12 months, they haven't changed much, and they're still ridiculously high. So I did a couple of numbers as best as I could. So the housing market usually grows about 5% on average per year. And if you look at the backdated, it's I think the craziest was 7, but there was a lot of 6% in there. Funnily enough, the last year it's only been, actually, no, I don't have that number. The rental price has only gone up 2.5%. Anyways, the housing market, though, is about 5% on average. So the current median or average house price is about, it's actually $900,000 if you average it across all of New Zealand. That's the average across the entirety of the country. But I know that is in very select places around the country, and that's not a first home. So I was like, that is a number that's not quite correct. So for a starter home, the average is still really fucking high. And this is lower than the average, which was about 700. Or actually, it was even higher than that. So I've gone for a 650 for the first home, which is still a ton of money. And you can, depending on where you live, that can definitely be about half that. But that's the bottom of the scale, and even that can be sometimes hard to get into threes. Most homes are easily in the fours starting. So with 5% house growth, it's about $32,000 more a year for a home, which is 3 times that of the $10,000 that people need to make up in a year to get that first home grant. When they said you could save $10,000 in a year. You've also got to factor in the costs of rent increases. So rent in the last year, it's only been 2.5% increases, but those have also been quite high in recent times, in the 5%. So you're paying an extra $14 a week, supposedly, in rent, depending on how much you're paying. So that's based on like a $500 a week rent, which is really low for some places.
That's like everyone got tax cuts.
It's true. That's true. That's true. They did. You got a $14 increase. Well done. It's going on rent. Thank you, Bree, for pointing that out. And the cost of living in the last year has gone up 3% as well. So that has also contributed as well to the up cost that you've now got to go up against to save. I did the numbers and it's crazy. The cost of living average is, and this is the low end, $4,500 a month, which is $54,000 a year. This is where it gets kind of scary. And obviously that number is double if you have a family. Mm-hmm. Like it is insane. The average salary, and that's before tax, is about $69,000, I think it was. If you are doing the bare minimum on KiwiSaver, which is the before tax number, I believe, 3% from you, 3% from your employer makes 6%, you can save another $4,000 a year. Still well below the $10,000, still well below the $32,000 you need to now buy a house. If you're putting in if you're putting in the 13%, then at most you're looking at about, on that salary, looking at about $9,000 a year, still below the $10,000. And as I just said, $54,000 a year in your living costs, you don't have a whole lot of money to play with. And assuming that you can even get approved on that salary, which I doubt you could, for a mortgage. So the $10,000, possibly if we're looking at $650,000, that's easily a brand new home in the suburbs. Like that's typically what you're looking at. Mm-hmm. That is very much what a lot of people I know who are first home buyers on fairly good salaries, probably much higher than the 69. They would be looking at that kind of that sort of range for their mortgage. So it's not great. This numbers aren't great. Like the 10 to 20,000 actually does make a difference, because that also means that you might have the 5% in order to get on the ladder with the kāinga order home loan, the first home loan, which is a 5% minimum. That could be the difference of someone who's on a very low wage just making it into that 5% bracket so that they can get in with the kāinga order 5% loan. So it does make a difference. So just some numbers to put on the top of your head. They are, like I said, they're napkin numbers. They're obviously not, some of them aren't realistic, but it does put into perspective some of the things that the houses are rising at a certain percentage. You've also got living costs that are rising. You've also, because you don't own your home, you've got rent prices, which we have zero control over, that are rising. Like everything is rising probably beyond what someone could afford to save. Not everyone can put 10% into their KiwiSaver. Some people can barely put the 3% minimum that they're putting in. So, like, to say, for someone like Brad, who's in a very privileged position, and Bishop, fuck's sake, for them to say the $10,000 to $20,000 doesn't really make a difference, like, I think that's that is a very privileged position, because that can be the difference between someone who's in a more privileged position who can get a cash handout by the bank of mum and dad, for example. That's quite often what people do, and that the cash handout from the government is huge for them. So I mean, Brie, you just said before, you're able to do it with that, and it means you've got a smaller mortgage, and it means that you can have some cash to do all the stuff you need to do with a house.
Yes. Yeah.
Any thoughts on that part? And then I'll go into the KiwiSaver changes.
It's just sad. I think it's especially when we only get what is it, 3%, 4% from our employer. I just don't know how anyone's expected to do it. I think that you were talking about everything's going up, but the only thing that's going down are our birth rates. And I can totally understand why, because it is so impossible to even think about having children or bringing children into a world that is so expensive. It's just so hard. I don't know anyone. I'm perfect, child age. I own a house. I have a partner that I've been with for a long time. I'm 26. I could think about having children, but it's just the thought of that, the cost of that is just no way. And I just feel really sad for people, because I know a lot of people want to have a home before they even think about that kind of thing. And yeah, it just sucks that it's hard for people our age to have children when they're living with 9 people in a flat, spending $200 a week on rent. And I know that because I've spent that much on rent in Wellington City. So it's unfair, man. It's just so unfair. 30-year-olds living in, or 40-year-olds even living in rentals with 8 other people that are moldy, and it's just ridiculous. We should be ashamed.
Yeah. Magenta, any thoughts to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, it sucks for those who would have been able to obviously get in on that. I mean, I'm someone who probably will never, unless BHN goes real well, guys, I'm probably someone who's never going to own a home. So yeah, but at the same time, it's how can people who might, I don't know, add to the labor force by procreating, how are they supposed to? It's hard enough to fucking look at your shopping bill every week, let alone to even think about saving or looking into buying a house. And I think, we used to be able to have that dream in this country because we also used to make things in this country. And we had a bunch of other social welfare benefits that were available, all that shit that they basically are trying to take away. And it's definitely going to set people and it will probably set certain generations and families backwards as well. Some who might have been able to climb their way out might be stuck there for a little while longer.
Or things might grow beyond what they can save. Spooky.
Yeah, I always ask people, do you get the 3 for $20 meat at the supermarket? Because that's what we've been living on for the last 2 years, the 3 for $20 meat. It's you, not like normal mince, it's pork mixed with beef mince,
and fillers.
Yeah. But it's just the cost is crazy, eh?
Yeah, I looked into those numbers as well, because I was like, oh yeah, cost of living, and then they had the ones that I just said before. But then it also went to a breakdown of grocery prices and the price that they had gone up, and the percentages of all of that stuff, and I was just like,
it's $2 bread now. No more dollar bread. It's $2.
No. Good luck trying to find dollar bread. Trying to find dollar anything. Jeez. Even the dollar store doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, $2 shop who?
$5 store now or something. What is that?
Yeah.
It's some lead contaminated product from China.
Even Temu and Shein are expensive now, and those were meant to be the kind of cheap stuff.
Yeah, the model that they use for those type of companies is always essentially undercut themselves to get people in, and then slowly over the years go back up to normal prices, because guess what? It's unsustainable to expect that you can buy everything for super fucking cheap.
Yeah.
Limited
Yeah.
resources and all that fun shit.
Yeah. We need more like productive investments in New Zealand. Like we need more local clothing stores and stuff, you know? Yeah. This is so spooky.
One of the other, it is very spooky and sad. One of the other things that was written in this back in a year ago. So the first-time grant would save the government $245 million, and then of that, the $140 million was going to go into 1,500 new social housing places. So, and I think we've heard quite a few times from, I think Kieran's pointed this out, that the government is not building any more new homes. They need homes that they claim that they've built has actually been paid for by the previous government, because they set aside the money and then they inherited that situation, and then that money was already put aside. So I looked into it and I thought, well, that's great. Okay, so the government's not giving me the money, but maybe that money that could have gone to me is going to house a hell of a lot more people. I guess that's not a bad payoff. It sucks for me, but hey, this is great. But actually, it's not great. It still fucking sucks for everyone. So, like, these numbers are everywhere and they just keep growing and growing and growing. This is one of the, when was this one? 3rd of July this year. These are about some Auckland properties. So both developments in the Auckland region said not proceeding in a spreadsheet by Kāinga Ora projects around the country. The agency said it assessed 466 social housing projects nationwide and prioritised locations where it's being asked to deliver new homes or where upgrading older homes is higher priority. It plans to proceed with 254 projects, which will provide 1,800 homes, but the 212 projects it cancelled would have provided 3,500 new homes.
That's a lot of houses.
The other thing that they said earlier is that they were going to keep up with the they made a pledge with the last coalition, which was Greens, and no, it wasn't actually. I think it was just the Greens were on board with a Labour policy, which was 1,000 new homes every year. And Nicola Willis famously put her hand up and said, "Yeah, I will commit to that." But what she didn't say was, yeah, we'll commit to that, but we're not going to pay to build those houses. We're going to pass it on to community services and community housing providers. They're going to build the homes. We're not going to build them. We're going to have them privately owned. So they're not really state houses. And they are selling off a bunch of houses as well. And instead of keeping the number above 73,000, they want to keep the number at 73,000 homes, which is, when they need more homes, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So that's one of the things that came out of that as well. So the money's not going to a great place. Thanks. Thanks.
Good job, guys.
Really appreciate it. Good job. Good job.
No builds.
Well, I've taken up enough time. No, we can't. I could go into the KiwiSaver stuff, but the gist of it is essentially they've slashed the contributions to KiwiSaver, the government contributions, so now you only get $260 from the government. And you can't earn more than $180,000 to be eligible for it. And they're going to make the contribution rate now 3.5% minimum, which you can negotiate, but that means your employer also doesn't have to do the 3.5. And some good things, 16 and 17-year-olds now qualify for it, and eventually their employer has to match it. However, I looked into it. It doesn't take much math to do this. The $517, which is fuck all money, the $521 that we were getting, over a 60-year lifetime, it's a $30,000 per person investment. It's fuck all money for the government. $30,000 over someone's lifetime from the government. That's it. And that money, with inflation and the share prices and things like that would just skyrocket with interest, all of that stuff. We get none of that. And it would have cost the government fuck all. So there you go.
I remember seeing a video too as well about the fact is that it's the whole they've obviously taken away that but increased how much obviously your employer has to pay. Forgetting that, guess what? The government employs people. So guess what? They're having to pay more money anyway for the fucking KiwiSavers, and it ends up being relatively moot in the end because bad at math. Just bad at math.
Yeah, I'm starting to think it's not the kids that are struggling with numeracy. It's actually
Nope.
the people.
I'm
not one.
Like when I heard that they're trying to take our education back to even like, what, close to when we were kids. It's like, no, don't do that. There's some weird shit. Also, learning that Pat had to fucking do PE in his underwear as a child. I'm like, can we call Oranga Tamariki posthumously like that? Like, I don't know, but do we need to check in with some of our parents and stuff? Because that sounds kind of cooked to me.